Hello once again and welcome to our series on the tucked away, overlooked and underappreciated details found throughout Skyrim. Last time we explored the realm of the Soul Cairn, and this time we're changing planes once again as we enter the infinite well of knowledge that is Apocrypha. A sprawling library said to contain knowledge from the past, present, and future, presided over by the Daedric prince Hermaeus Mora. He's probably got a Bloodborne remaster in here somewhere. If anywhere were to have secrets, it would be here. As an addition to that point, this video will be structured slightly differently than the previous few, as Apocrypha is divided into different zones depending on the Black Book you read. But remember to subscribe if you enjoy this content, and let's get started. Starting off, we have the first Black Book you are likely to come across, the Black Book, Waking Dreams. For our first discovery, we have something that was never meant to be discovered. Those of you who watched the previous video may find this familiar. Hopping over this wall near the end of the explorable area of Apocrypha, we can find two containers. Yes, much like the chests in the boneyard of the Soul Cairn, we can find two completely inaccessible chests. Why are these here? Was there ever a plan to be able to access these, or are we viewing the relics of game development? Perhaps this is where the Bloodborne remaster is. Perhaps Titanfall 3 is in here, or Silksong, perhaps. Unfortunately, it seems we will never know. But even closer to the end of this Black Book, we can find this. An Apocryphal word wall. Of course, anyone who has played through this likely knows this was here, but there are some things to point out. Firstly, rather than being your traditional stone word wall, this one is written upon a giant scroll. It weirdly reminds me a lot of the Oblivion main menu, but regardless, this is, as I'm sure many of you know, one of the word walls for the dragon aspect shout. But the dragon language, or Dovazul, translates as follows. This stone commemorates Great Mirak, dragon priest of great wisdom, servant of the worm, and enemy of mankind. Well, at least we know we're definitely here to stop the bad guy. But moving on, we have the Black Book, The Hidden Twilight. First up is more or less just the entirety of Chapter 6. This area is, strangely, seemingly in a state of decay. The area is crumbling, the walls falling, and the usual fonts that would replenish us are unlit and inert. This area only functions as a holding space for entrance into the next two chapters. But what exactly happened here? It's unlike Mora to allow knowledge, no matter how trivial, to be lost, which means either he can't control what is happening in this room, or it's this way on purpose, perhaps as some kind of experiment. Another mystery to add to the collection. Now, a very small detail for you, but you rare item enjoyers out there may find this one a little more interesting. At the very end of this Black Book, next to the power-granting Black Book, we can find a scroll of Paralyze. This is quite the rare find, as far as I am aware, there is only one other copy of this scroll that can be found beyond random loot and merchant stocks, and that copy is in the Dwemer Ruin of Mzulft. A small detail to be sure, but potentially a very powerful spell to have handy in the right situation. Next up for the Black Books is the Sallow Regent. You may have noticed during your time in Apocrypha these little floating light bulbs. These are known as wisp lanterns. Well, here in the Sallow Regent, not only are there a great many of them, but two stand out above the rest. Indeed, we can find not just one, but two of these giant variants, and giant they are, being even larger than the player's character model. Why these are here is an interesting question. Perhaps they are the progenitors of the other wisp lanterns we see all over Apocrypha, or merely a strange mutation. The latter seems more likely, as further into the book we can find another three, taking our grand total of these giant wisps to 5. Either way, they are a welcome sight in a land where the darkness itself can kill you. Although, for a little bonus tidbit here, you can use the Stendarr's Aura spell as a light source to combat the dark here, despite its function as an anti-undead spell rather than a traditional light source. Now, once again, we have one for the rare item connoisseurs. At the end of this black book, we can find an altar. As anyone who's watched my How to Get Every Spell in Skyrim video will know, a copy of the Conjuration Master Spellbook Flame Thrall will be here. The only copy that spawns guaranteed in the open like this, I do believe. An incredibly valuable find indeed. Next up, we have the Black Book, The Winds of Change. This is one of the smallest areas contained in the Black Books, and as such, does have less to discover, but one thing did catch my eye. Here we can see a circle of 4 small pedestals surrounding a pool of tentacle-filled inky liquid. Now, if your conjuration is level 40 or higher, you can find the Conjure Seeker tome here, as you can in many other places in Apocrypha. But what stands out to me is the 5th pedestal off to the side, like it's in timeout. Atop it we find books of little to no consequence. My only conclusion here is that the pool in the center was not always there, as it, given the current configuration, is the only sensible place for this 5th pedestal to have been. An odd find, but that is all for this Black Book. Next up was supposed to be the book Untold Legends, but honestly there's not a lot going on there that really fits the criteria as far as I can tell. So now seems as good a time as any to bring up an interesting connection. Whilst exploring anywhere in Apocrypha, you will have surely seen, whether on the floor or in the air, loose pages, and if you've ever wondered what they say, I have no idea. But other than the Black Books themselves, this same writing can be found in one other place, on the Eye of Magnus. Perhaps these pages have something to do with the secrets of creation. We will likely never know, but it is surely an interesting find. Next up is the book Epistolary Acumen. During your exploration of this book's associated realm, you may come across a room rather different to any other we see in Apocrypha. We enter a large hall-like room with what appear to be lecterns of some kind lining the walls. A strange sight that prompts an obvious question. Who are these for? This room appears to be set up for humanoids to use to study in some way, but who? We certainly don't see any, and the humans we tend to hear about are never invited in groups for study sessions in the middle of Apocrypha. They usually just run around and go mad from the knowledge, possibly even becoming the denizens of this place. What this room is and why it is here is a question I would love to have answered. And finally is the book Filament and Filigree. Here we have something strange indeed. Next to one of the containers that litter this realm lies a scroll of invisibility. This might seem normal, but as far as I can tell, this is the only item in all of Apocrypha that spawns naturally on the ground, or the closest thing to ground here. Of course, there may be things I've missed, so correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a very odd thing to be the case. Still, small and unremarkable details are exactly what we're here for. And that is once again it. 10 things you may have missed in Apocrypha. I think it's rather fitting that the realm of the Prince of Knowledge has ended up with double the usual discoveries. Remember to subscribe for next time, where we will be delving into the afterlife of the Nords with Sovngarde. Goodbye for now.